Hello everybody and welcome back to the F1 2021 My Team Career Mode with me, Dan, and of course the Radiant Racing team as we reach the final week of the first My Team season in Mexico for the first of the 4 races that will be taking place this week, followed by Brazil, Australia, and then finally Abu Dhabi. Moving on to next week into Season 2, not too much excitement in terms of driver moves, but it's off to a good start for the team. Let's just tell you that much for now. If you don't want to miss that, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and also comment down below, are you looking forward to F1 2022? Now, it's been announced, there's another video up on the channel going over the announcement of that if you're interested. But for now though, let's get on with the starting grid order for the Mexican Grand Prix. And on the front row is a front row lockout for the Mercedes team, with Lewis Hamilton taking pole position ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Then we have Max Verstappen alongside home favourite Sergio Perez on the second row. Then the 2 McLarens follow, Lando Norris ahead of teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Behind them, not a surprise, it's the 2 Ferraris with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz in that order, followed by the usual suspects Pierre Gasly and Fernando Alonso rounding up the top 10. Moving down to the back end of the field, Yuki Tsunoda is alongside Esteban Ocon once again. Then we have Lance Stroll and Radiant Slothz, who's dealing with some engine issues at the moment. Antonio Giovinazzi and Kimi Raikkonen are once again our 15th and 16th. They're followed by George Russell, who's out-qualified Zhou Guanyu for the first time in a little while. Then we have the other Williams of Nicholas Latifi. He's alongside Mick Schumacher in the first Haas. And finally, it's Nikita Mazepin alongside Sebastian Vettel. 4 races, 1 final week of the season. Let's get underway in Mexico. It's 5 red lights and away we go. And Radiant Slothz not off to an amazing start there. He does gain 1 position over Lance Stroll, but that's not going to be very difficult following Yuki Tsunoda down towards turn 1. Everyone getting very defensive on their way down towards the first corner as Tsunoda moves across to the outside. Radiant Slothz slips down the inside there, and it's 3 wide going into the first of the chicanes. With Radiant Slothz coming out on top now, he's into P12 behind Carlos Sainz, who's dropped away quite considerably. Starting P8. Radiant Slothz up the inside of a few more drivers. He's just got past Carlos Sainz and Esteban Ocon, and now Pierre Gasly as well, who was caught napping on the inside of the chicane. He's going to try and go around Fernando Alonso as well, but Alonso's too wily to allow that to happen on the opening lap. Radiant Slothz then making up at least 5 positions there in the first couple of corners. They're all the race leaders. Valtteri Bottas now leading the Grand Prix, although he seems to have an issue. It's chaos up ahead. Radiant Slothz up the inside of Fernando Alonso as well. Only a few seconds separate the top 8 drivers as Radiant Slothz goes around the outside of Charles Leclerc and Daniel Ricciardo into the stadium. And he gets them both, and now he's following them down the pit straight. Valtteri Bottas comes in. There must have been some damage on his car. We'll have to have a look at what happened there. And now look at the Max Verstappen breaking away by 2 seconds. Lewis Hamilton under attack from Lando Norris. Radiant Slothz under attack from Daniel Ricciardo as they come down towards turn 1. Max Verstappen well clear of this. Sergio Perez still P4. But Valtteri Bottas' chances of winning this championship may have just gone out the window. We'll have to see what happens later on in the Grand Prix. He'll be hoping for a safety car or some kind of incident, which it may happen, who knows. Let's go aboard Radiant Slothz. Sitting at the start for quite a long while. So there's the first overtake on Lance Stroll. There's Yuki Tsunoda on the medium tyre. But this shouldn't be too difficult. Unfortunately, his slightly worn out engine not able to help him get past the other Honda powered car, but he does get past in the corners. Then has a look round the outside of Carlos Sainz, who's already dropped several positions. There was a piece of car coming off there, I think, on the left-hand side of the screen. But this is Radiant Sloth's dive bomb, as Bottas was clumping up the field ahead of him. He's able to get down the inside of Ocon. Then Gasly knocks himself over the curb, compromising his line. And then because of Bottas bunching everyone up again into the double right-hander, he was nearly given Radiant Slothz the chance to get past. So here we go. This was Bottas into turn 1. Verstappen's in the mirror. He goes deep, but nothing out of the ordinary. He comes into the second part of the chicane, and then Verstappen pulls alongside him, and Bottas hits Max Verstappen's front tyre. And then this was the chaos into the stadium as Valtteri Bottas got in everyone's way. Radiant Slothz at the inside of Alonso, and then around the long way round as Norris and Leclerc were battling there. Sorry, Ricciardo and Leclerc were battling there. And then we see Hamilton, Norris and Perez getting out of shape as they were trying to take avoiding action from Valtteri Bottas going into the pit lane. As we rejoin a little bit later, DRS will have been enabled now for the following DRS zone. Perez gets past Norris, and it's compromised him. Radiant Slothz also having a look now. Will he get the Red Bull as well? He's definitely had a good traction out of the corner. They compromised each other. He's going to take it round the outside. He's going to upset a lot of people if he gets right past him, and he does. The crowd are furious as Radiant Slothz humiliates the home favourite by overtaking him in a car which should be around P16 at the moment with Zhou Guanyu, but instead is fighting for the last step on the podium. Lewis Hamilton's still a little way ahead, so he'll have to cross his fingers and pray that Perez doesn't get DRS on him, which he does have right now, giving the Mexican crowd one more opportunity to see their favourite driver on that podium. Oh, and he has a mistake there. He's whipped the car, potentially looking at his phone for no reason as he comes around the final corner. That last mistake would not have helped him there, and Sergio Perez knows it. He's going to go past, and it's not even a challenge for Perez. Radiant Slothz now under attack from Daniel Ricciardo, Lando Norris, sorry, and they go side by side, the two rivals of 2021 in the battle for third in the Constructors' Championship. Carlos Sainz, obviously with some kind of issue, dropped out of this fight at the moment, but Ferrari will need him to climb back up because it's a very close contest at the moment. Esteban Ocon getting in the way there causes some trouble. This was what led to Norris and Perez being overtaken. Look how far away they are. But going into turn 1, completely compromised themselves. Turn 2 and then 3, there is contact there as they bang wheels. And neither of them are on a good line there as they parrot at the corner. And just Radiant Slothz just in a better position on the brakes there. Slips it up the inside, shuts the door on the Mexican. The crowd would boo, and he goes on his way, sliding his way around the track. As we rejoin, Lando Norris clearly did take significant damage from Sergio Perez. He's dropped a few positions. He's dropped several positions, though he may have come into the pits for repairs. Yes, he has. Radiant Slothz, though, as they go on to lap 5 with the DRS, unable to make any progress there. Takes a lot of speed into turn 1. He's safe from Ricciardo, but it looks as though for the time being he's just going to be dragged along by the DRS at the speed of a Red Bull, which, to be honest, at this stage of the Grand Prix is probably acceptable for him. We've got another 14 laps to go. He's in no rush to try and get past. And speaking of, here we are on lap 8, coming into the twisty section to see how the Red Bull performs against the Radiant Racer. Quite well, apparently. He does break away somewhat as Radiant Slothz gets a DRS again down towards the stadium section. Runs incredibly wide there for no reason. Comes around the hairpin. Exits the stadium section once again. In the background, that's Daniel Ricciardo still lurking. Will Radiant Slothz be able to do anything as they move on to lap 9? Now Max Verstappen comes into the pits. That's Lewis Hamilton as well. They were far enough clear that they shouldn't be threatened at all by these two battling. Esteban Ocon, funnily enough, actually up into P3, and we've seen in, I believe, season 1 or 2 of the co-op career, Esteban Ocon actually performed incredibly well here in the early seasons until Justin Freshbot smashed his car into a million pieces and Esteban Ocon had to retire from the Grand Prix. So maybe we'll see him get some points in this race.
Box, box, box.
Come to the end of lap 9. Radiant Slothz chases down Sergio Perez. Will Perez come in, or will he risk it? No, he's staying. He's staying out. Coming in even as Radiant Slothz absolutely destroys a bollard and it goes flying down the pit lane. That's the sort of racing we're here for. More importantly, he did try and get past Sergio Perez at the pit entrance, but unfortunately, the luck of the gods was not on his side. It's a quick stop, but he tailed. He comes up right behind Perez, but where is Lewis Hamilton? There he is. Antonio Giovinazzi for the 3rd race in a row, potentially the 4th, up into P3. Not on merit this time. He's just there in the way, but he's going to be giving DRS to Perez at some point, so at least at one stage of this lap, he's going to get DRS to Perez, which could be to the detriment of Radiant Slothz. Antonio Giovinazzi, of course, over the past couple of Grand Prix, opportunistically placing himself amongst the leaders, causing absolute chaos. Nicholas Latifi behind, doing the same thing, or will be, when Daniel Ricciardo catches him. As they come round into the twisty section, you can already see how much they've closed up on Giovinazzi. Perez will be very eager to get past him, but I can't see it happening here down into the DRS zone. Nope, they're going to sit behind. This could be very good for Radiant Slothz. Of course, the Red Bull did evade him through most of the first stage of the Grand Prix. He has a big slide coming out of the stadium section. That will not be good for him as Giovinazzi peels off. The work is done, he says, and he's out of here. And now Radiant Slothz must try and catch Sergio Perez on merit. And unfortunately, as we mentioned earlier, Giovinazzi did provide DRS to Sergio Perez, who's going to get it on the 2nd DRS zone as well, because there's only one detection point at this circuit. And so, there goes the flap again. And they go out of sight. Let's see. I always like this imagery up here. As we see the cars racing from above, it gives you a good idea of where some of the cars are gaining or losing time. It appears to be very evenly matched going through the corner, but on exit, Sergio Perez does seem to be pulling away quite far. We don't see Perez right now, which I'll leave up to you to decide whether that's a good or a bad thing, because it means that he may have pulled away quite a bit. Yes, he has, although Radiant Slothz has managed to bring the gap under a second. As we rejoin them, it's not the same lap, it's actually still a lap to go. He's still sat behind the Mexican. As things have gone on behind, Charles Leclerc's up into P5. Esteban Ocon, as I mentioned earlier, has actually performed fairly well here. He's in P6. Valtteri Bottas, after pitting on lap 1, has managed to claw his way back up the field into P8 on what must be incredibly worn tyres. Lando Norris, interestingly enough, who was running quite high up, is all the way down in P16. Presumably made contact with back markers. Carlos Sainz in 20th, presumably for the same reason. Zhou Guanyu completely out of it as Radiant Slothz tries to go up the inside of Sergio Perez, and much to the enjoyment of the crowd, was not successful in doing so. There may be another opportunity now, as we see on the board there. Actually, Valtteri Bottas losing multiple positions there. He must have come into the pits for new tyres on this final lap, and he's dropped out of the points. That promotes Kimi Räikkönen up to pick up another point for the first time in a few races. Fernando Alonso, though, not able to score on this occasion like his teammate. But here we go, Sergio Perez, Radiant Slothz round the final corner of the Mexican Grand Prix. What a race it's been. And Radiant Slothz has had a massive accident there as he comes across the line. Every time he comes across the line at these Grand Prix, there tends to be something there which causes him to have an accident, and there is confirmation of him getting driver of the day. Presumably the decision was made before he crashed into the pit wall and hurt someone. But well, this championship is hotting up right now. We've got 3 more races to go. We'll see what the championship leaderboards look like in just a moment, but it's getting pretty close now between Red Bull and Mercedes. All 4 of their drivers in contention for the title. Radiant Slothz also in contention for the title. He's not close enough to win conventionally, but if he is to get his elbows out in the final few stages of these Grand Prix, maybe he's in with a chance. But if not, then he'll be causing disruption as much as possible. As Verstappen claims yet another trophy. Lewis Hamilton up there had one of the best comebacks that we've seen in F1 for a little while. Had an absolutely terrible start to the season and is now in with a chance of the championship. Let's go have a look at the race results and the leaderboards. And here are the final results, of course, following the podium finishes. There were Radiant Slothz, Charles Leclerc, Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon, Daniel Ricciardo, Lance Stroll and Kimi Raikkonen. And Valtteri Bottas, it says he only stopped once, so had an accident on the final lap, causing him to drop out of the points. So over in the Drivers' Championship, Verstappen maintains a 28-point lead over teammate Sergio Perez. Lewis Hamilton leapfrogs his teammate up into 3rd position, 37 points behind Verstappen. Then there's Valtteri Bottas, 48 points behind Verstappen. And finally, Radiant Slothz, 50 points behind Verstappen with 3 races to go. Behind them we have Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Daniel Ricciardo and Pierre Gasly making up the top 10. Further down the order, we have his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, Lance Stroll, Kimi Raikkonen, Antonio Giovinazzi and George Russell tied on 2 points, and the non-point scorers Zhou Guanyu, Nicholas Latifi, Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. And here's how the constructors are looking with 3 races to go. Red Bull at 57 points ahead of rivals Mercedes. Then it's a jump back to the battle for 3rd. Radiant Racing still maintaining position ahead of Ferrari, who jump 1 point ahead of McLaren. Then it's back to AlphaTauri in a solid 6th. Then Alpine, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, Williams and finally Haas. We'll catch you in the next one.